Okie dokie, I believe we are all the way live. Hello and welcome to my graveyard. I am your host of the evening, the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names of kicking candy ass. Live in the color here with you on Grande's Graveyard. Welcome back to another edition of the show. Tonight we have a little special for y'all, especially you lovers out there. Oh yeah, that's right. Tonight it is time for the Valentine's Day special. Yes, I know Valentine's Day is not till Monday, but I figured instead of doing it after Valentine's Day, I'd do it the show before Valentine's Day. And, it got me thinking, the most talked about horror movie, of course, revolving around Valentine's Day is My Bloody Valentine. And for good reason. That's a great film. That's a wonderful horror movie, slasher flick, one of the best slasher movies of all time. And, I haven't actually touched that movie on this show yet, and maybe one year I will. Last year, around Valentine's Day, I decided to do a live fan commentary of Return of the Living Dead Part 3, because that movie's all around the centers and themes of love and stuff like that. And I said, you know what? I want to do something outside the box like that again this year. Instead of just talking about a movie with Valentine in the title, why not talk about two horror movies with love and horror as the main themes? And that brings me to the two movies that we're going to discuss tonight. First, from Mr. Jess Franco, She Killed in Ecstasy. I'm super excited to talk about this one. This is a phenomenal film. And from the legendary exploitation filmmaker, Mr. Don Jones, it is his film, The Love Butcher. Yes, The Love Butcher from 1975. Super excited to talk about this one as well. We have somebody in the Heezy. The Soulless Trenchcoat's in the house. Hey, what's up, good brother? Hey, man, I got to ask, how is my connection right now? Because if I'm sputtering, I can move rooms, because I don't know, right before I went live, about 20 minutes, I usually set up hours before now just so this problem doesn't occur. And, unfortunately, tonight it looks like it's sputtering out of control. If it's bad, I don't want another Cloverfield repeat. Please tell me, and I will move rooms. It'll take me a whole 2 minutes. So please, anybody that joins tonight, if it's bad, like the Cloverfield show, please tell me. I don't want to lose the stream. I've never heard of any of these, but they sound interesting. Yeah, no, we are gonna go hard and deep into these movies, man. I'm super excited to discuss both, because I think they're both fairly underrated. And I don't know, like I said, I was trying to think outside of the box for Valentine's Day show themes here, and I decided, I don't know, why not go with these these lesser talked about films. I don't know, I like to talk about lesser talked about movies, and I know we may not have as big of a crowd because of that, but that's also the fun of doing the show. It's introducing the people that will watch this to movies they haven't hopefully seen before, and hopefully introducing to something that they will like in the future. So at least that's my goal. The Master of Fears here. What's going on, good brother Devin? Hope all is well with you, man. Happy Thursday, almost the weekend time. How's everything been, man? Hope everything is going well. But yeah, no, I'm super excited about these. I guess we can go right, but it's slightly glitching on my end. You're freezing quite a bit, but it's not horrible. Oh man. I don't know. I'm wondering, do you think I should just change rooms? I mean, I could. I don't know. I didn't want to have to do this, but I don't know, man. If it's bad, I can move rooms. It's fine. It'll take me 5 minutes. Can still hear you. Okay, but it's bad. I'll tell you what. Let me see. This is the one the one negative doing a live show, man. People are like, what the fuck? Like, if you can't hear me or whatever, that's no good. So let me here. I'm going to put up a placeholder and I'm going to switch rooms. We're going to do the show in my room. It's freezing, but it's not that bad. You think I should move? I'm thinking I should move. I'm going to try to get a screensaver up right now, so it gives me the minute or so to move. Let's see. I'm looking here. Let's get a screenshot of She Killed in Ecstasy. Sorry for this, folks. I know I should have just moved rooms before. I was like, let me just give it a shot. She Killed in Ecstasy. Miss Carter's in the Heezy. Miss Carter, what's going on? Am I freezing really bad again? If so, I'm going to move rooms. I don't want this to happen again with the whole Cloverfield thing. So please, everybody, bear with me, because I think we're going to have to move rooms here. This is not, if I'm freezing already, it's not going to bode well for the whole show. Okay, so we got She Killed in Ecstasy. Let me get this up as a side screen here, and we can move rooms, because I don't want a fucking horrible stream again like the Cloverfield thing. I felt bad about that. So let's do this. You good. No worries. Stuff happens. Okay. All right, everybody. I'm going to move rooms really quick. We'll see if anything changes. So let me do a share screen. So here, share. Oh, they have some new share screens. This is pretty cool. Share screen. And we're going to share screen with this window, this tab. Okay. And okay, I'm going to take myself out. I promise I will be right back. I'm going to try to switch rooms. So bear with me here. I will be back. Okay, so right as I left, it looked like the thing fixed itself. This is interesting. Okay, so we'll go back to solo. Now it looks like it's fixed. That's so weird. As soon as I removed myself, it fixed itself. All right, maybe I won't switch rooms. Okay, I don't know. Keep me updated, everybody. I'm sorry, man. This is fucking. See, now it's like shit. Okay, you know, I am gonna switch rooms. I fuck it. We'll shoot it upstairs. I will be right back. Hold on. Let's fucking share the screen again. And dude, I don't know. This is just. All right, everybody, I'm back. I'm in my room now. Now y'all know what my room looks like, by God. Okay. Am I freezing now? Because it looks like I'm okay now. I guess I have to be on top of the fucking, sitting right next to the fucking router. So I don't know. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. I really do. But we're still having the graveyard tonight. All right. We ain't canceling this fucking graveyard. Over my fucking dead balls are we canceling this fucking graveyard. Sorry, I had to get out of breath. I fucking ran upstairs to do this now. Nope, everything's good now. Okay, good. Okay, I apologize. Welcome back. Thank you. I'm sorry. Yeah, Missy, that damn Wi-Fi. Falcon Adam was here. I might have lost him. John Day, my man. What's up, good brother? Hope all is well with you tonight. Yeah, no, I don't know what this is. I gotta maybe get a stronger connection or something because I usually film in my basement and until lately, never really had crazy problems, but is what it is. Love your Friday 2 poster. Thank you. The body count continues, dude. I've seen your room before. Yeah, no, I did a couple shows in here, very few. I like the setup downstairs better, but I just figured, fuck it. You know, I'd rather just have better connection tonight. It is what it is. We could do the show in here. But all right, without further ado, I think I've made y'all wait long enough. We're going to get into our first film of the evening, our first Valentine special of the evening. This is from the year 1970. This is Mr. Jess Franco's film starring the late, great Soledad Miranda. This is She Killed in Ecstasy. Yes, She Killed in Ecstasy. This movie is tremendous. And if you want to watch a good horror movie on or around Valentine season, this is the one I think you should watch. It's tremendous. It basically tells the story of Soledad Miranda and her husband. And her husband is this scientist kind of dabbling in some, shall we say, controversial things. And he's fucking around with growth hormones and fetuses, and he's doing things that aren't really smiled upon in the scientific community, but he's hoping to make a big breakthrough, and he's hoping to really change the world for the better. And basically, he presents his case to this board of scientists, and the scientists basically shoot down his idea. And they don't just shoot down his idea, they get personal about it. They say, he's a monster for trying to do the things he's trying to do, and he's in poor taste. And they basically just cripple him, really verbally cripple him. And they send men to his house to destroy his laboratory, who would then assault his wife, Soledad Miranda. And losing his dream, eventually leads him to commit suicide. And then from there on, we follow Soledad Miranda's character as she starts to kill in ecstasy for the man that she loved over his suicide. She's going out to gain revenge on the ones that she felt were responsible for his suicide. And this is just a tremendous film, a tremendous revenge film, a film, I would say, a film of faces, and what do I mean by that? Soledad Miranda, she had just such an interesting career. I mean, she started in like little, lesser, kind of films, and she did a lot of dabbling into spaghetti westerns and stuff like that. And in like 1967, she actually met her eventual husband, had a child, and was going to quit acting. She had given up. She, had been through the ringer in the business, and unfortunately, I know she was supposed to be in some starring roles, but there were people in the business that did not like her. One, Gina Lollobrigida, she was not a fan of Soledad Miranda, and she did not want her to become a big star. So unfortunately, she did a good job of crippling some of her screen time in some films that they were in together. And she had almost given up acting. She was pretty much ready to give up until she got a call actually from the studio to do a movie called 100 Rifles with Burt Reynolds. And in that movie, she's pretty much topless, looking good as always. Soledad Miranda was a beautiful woman. But that kind of got the ball rolling again on her career. And she linked back up with old-time friend, Mr. Jess Franco. And he was like, hey, I'm making this movie, Count Dracula. And Christopher Lee's going to be in it. And Christopher Lee took one look at Soledad Miranda and said, oh my God, this woman should be a star. I mean, she's stunning. And Jess Franco decided, hey, why don't we make a couple films together? And they made first Vampiros Lesbos, then this film, She Killed in Ecstasy, which is my favorite of the three. And then The Devil Came from Akasava. And, that trilogy really brought her back into the public eye and, got her name sort of known worldwide. She almost became an international superstar because of these films. And I think her greatest performance is in this film right here, She Killed in Ecstasy, because I say it's a film of faces. Everything Soledad Miranda does with her face in this film is just tremendous to me. And the way she contorts her face, the way she, can look in terror and fear. She can look mysterious. She can look sexy. There's so many different things and emotions she can derive just from her face. And, I think the biggest thing, the most important thing when you're making a film is to have an actor or actress or an ensemble that stands out and brings a great screen presence and intensity. And Soledad Miranda's intensity in this film is just off the charts. It's so fantastically done as this grieving widow who lost her husband over something she really should not have lost him to. And he lost his dream and she lost the love of her life. And how far will she go to exact her revenge? And the answer is pretty damn far. She's just tremendous in this. She basically hunts these guys down one by one, and woman. There's a woman as a part of the crew, and some of them she seduces. Like there's this great scene where she's just sitting in a lounge, smoking a cigarette, and nobody even smokes a cigarette quite like Soledad Miranda in this film. It's incredible. There's this guy who comes over to her, he's trying to hit on her, and he's like, oh, hey, you look really pretty tonight. And she's like, you're out of my league, blah, blah, or I'm out of your league, blah, blah, blah. And he offers her money, and she's like, okay, we'll go upstairs for some money. And it's one of the scientists, obviously, that screwed over her husband, and she's seducing him and stuff. And she realizes that the guy's impotent. And so she starts calling him a pig and a rat and this and that, all these vile, horrible names. And he thinks it's to get him turned on. She, on the other hand, she's really meaning this. She really does believe this man is a rat, a pig, all of these horrible things. And she takes a blade and absolutely brutally murders the shit out of him, stabs the hell out of him, castrates him, everything that son of a bitch deserved. And it's amazing that the film, that's like one of the first death scenes in the movie. This is not a big spoiler. I mean, that's about 20 minutes into the movie that happens. But it's very, very well done. It's very intense. Devin says, always love revenge plots. Me too. And I think adding the whole love story around it too was just brilliant. We get some good time to sort of understand their relationship. The opening like 10-15 minutes, we see Soledad and her husband, they're in love, and Jess Franco just does some great things with the camera here. There's a great scene of them sitting on the couch talking about his future and what he wants to do and what he wants to do to better the world. And Jess Franco shoots the scene with them on the couch through a chair. And it's just so hypnotic, and it really brings you closer to the scene. There's a lot of classic Jess Franco, tropes in this, whether it be the in zooms, the out zooms. Franco loved to do, zooming. That was one of his big things. But he also just takes you on a journey with the camera. Like there are scenes where there'll be people kissing, and there's a glass of champagne right in the middle of where their mouths are, and it's just anything to be visually appealing. Jess Franco would know how to do that. And this thing is sleazy. It is sexy. It is a good time to watch. It's about 80 minutes long, so it's a quick film. It's not one that overstays its welcome, but it's just a very powerful film. And it packs a punch. Soledad Miranda's character, she goes on, she pretty much keeps killing these people. There's one woman she seduces, and there's some crazy shit going on there, a suffocation, if you will, and some crazy lesbian action. I mean, it's certainly a adult, not an adult film, but it's certainly a mature film is probably the better word I should use here. But to me, this was a perfect movie for Jess Franco to tackle at the time, because Jess Franco, if you don't know much about Jess Franco, he made like over 180 films in his life, 180 feature films. Like when you think about that, it's just incredible. It's like, how the hell do you have time to make 180 films, let alone one this good? And, that's the thing with Jess Franco. He was not a big post-production guy. Jess Franco liked to film and move on to the next project. Most directors, they film a movie, then they enter post-production, then the marketing, then the premiere, then the interviews, the journey. That's what most filmmakers do. But Jess Franco, after filmmaking, found a lot of that stuff boring. I don't want to do post-production. I don't want to edit this. I don't want to edit that. I don't want to go and promote this film. I don't want to, sit in post-production and listen to somebody tell me how something is boring or something drags. He said, that's not why I make film. I make film because I love it, and I love being creative with it, and I love keeping to do it. And that's why Jess Franco, he's very rarely involved in post-production. And this film is a prime example of that, because he made this Vampiros Lesbos and The Devil Came from Akasaba back to back to back, all with Soledad Miranda, all in the same year. That's incredible. He made 3 films with the same lead actress in the same year. Like it's incredible to think about, but that's why I love Jess Franco. He really just loved filmmaking. And this is, I think, one of his best films. I really do, because it's just one of the most intense. And the music in this is fantastic. Of course, this does come with a soundtrack of all 3 of those Soledad Miranda trilogy films. Just wonderful music, really interesting stuff. Probably my favorite scene in the film is Soledad Miranda. She has just killed the 3rd victim of the 4 that she's going out to kill in this film. And she's sitting here I can actually show this. Don't worry, YouTube, it's not graphic. She's sitting in this like fetal position, and there's this beautiful music playing, which for some reason is missing on the soundtrack. I don't know why it's missing on the soundtrack, but it is missing on the soundtrack. So it's unfortunate. I would love to know if anybody could track down what the piece of music is when Soledad Miranda is in this position and looking the way she's looking. Let me know, because I would love to know that music. It's just so beautiful. She's sitting there in the fetal position after murdering another person, and she just looks contorted and fearful and afraid and alone. And, that's why I think this movie is brilliant. It's really tackling the themes of love and horror. And that's a big reason I wanted to discuss this on the show tonight, because love is a thing that, when it comes to horror, people don't automatically think of, right? We think of love, we think of mushy gushy, we think of the good times, But there's that old song, and it remains true. Love hurts sometimes, and love can be quite a few things. And in this film, we see just how much love Soledad Miranda's character felt for her late husband. While she's seducing these people that she's going on to kill, they have these flashback scenes of her imagining that it's the husband, because she cannot let him go, even though he's gone. She doesn't even bury his body. She actually keeps his body in the apartment, and there's some necrophilia in this because she cannot let it go. And I think that's so powerful, and that's love at its truest, most fucked up, horrific form. But it is true love at the end of the day too. And I just think her face and, her sorrow, it's horror done right, in my opinion. It's so well done. There's also fantastic exterior shots of this wonderful house that Jess Franco would not just use in this film, but in other films as well. There's quite a few great boat scenes where Soledad Miranda is, going up and on the shore with the boat and just sort of talking to herself, like, I'm going to make my revenge is going to be violent, and it's going to be brutal, and discussing all the things that she wants to do to these people that, she felt wronged her husband. It's very good stuff. It's very well done. 180. Wow. Yes. 180 plus films Jess Franco directed in his career. It's incredible. And the guy, he's world famous. It's incredible, and the guy, let's face it, the guy's never going to be up for any Oscars or anything, but there's something to be said about the guy's love for film and how passionate he was about what he did. And I'll be honest, you watch interviews with Jess Franco, he doesn't seem like a guy with the most self-esteem. He definitely doesn't sound like a guy that was that happy to, have done with the things he did. I don't think he always looks the proudest. If you watch interviews with him, you know what I mean. He doesn't seem like he has much. There's an interview on this where he puts himself down a lot. And I'm like, damn, like, how much joy and happiness you brought into so many people's lives with your films. I've discussed Bloody Moon on the channel before. I really like Eugenie. I think that's another really good Jess Franco film. There's a lot of good Jess Franco films out there. And I appreciate that this guy, he really dedicated his life to it. Back to back. Yeah, no, absolutely. You got to be back to back to back to back to make that many films in a row, especially quality films. But no, this thing, man, this is a horror movie done right, in my opinion. It's just tremendous. It's very quick paced. And it also, I sort of wanted to talk about a little bit about Soledad Miranda post this film, because she, after this was released, sort of became an international star, and people were taking note of her. And maybe this is the Brigitte Bardot of, Spain, and maybe this is the next big thing. Maybe she's going to be a sex symbol like a Marilyn Monroe or just a big up and coming actress. Unfortunately, she didn't get to see that happen. What happened was, she, after making these 3 films with Jess Franco, a German producer saw this film in particular, and he called Jess Franco and he said, Jess, I want to do a big deal with Soledad. I want you to be there. I want you to be involved. I want to do a 6-picture deal with Soledad Miranda. She's made it. We're going to make 2 films a year with her for the next 3 years, and she's going to get big money, and she's going to get exposure in the United States like she deserves. And everything was looking great. The day came to sign the contract. Jess Franco showed up. The producer showed up. Soledad was on her way driving in the car with her husband, and unfortunately a truck came along and hit her side of the car. Unfortunately, broke her spine, gave her serious head concussion, head trauma. They rushed Soledad to the hospital, but it was too late. Unfortunately, she had passed away on her way to sign probably what would have been a life and career changing contract for her. And, you know, it's just heartbreaking to watch this because this was one of her last films. This Devil from Akasaba was actually the last thing she filmed. But it's unfortunate. Devil from Akasaba is not as good as this or Vampiros Lesbos, but it's, you know, it was the last film she did. I think it does deserve a Blu-ray just for that alone. But it really makes me think, you know, the world was sort of robbed from one of the next big stars because her performance in this is why I love the genre. It's a career-defining performance because she does everything in once. It's such a grand performance. She can make you get excited because she's such a beautiful woman when she's trying to seduce these men. She can make you feel the utter pain that it is to lose someone that you love and someone that was your world. She can just make you feel every single emotion in this film. And I think that's acting at its finest. And that's why I really love Soledad Miranda. And it's such a shame that she did not live to see, you know, how big her performance in these films, you know, and popular they became. It's heartbreaking to see. And they asked Jess Franco, you know, what did you think about Soledad becoming a big international star? And he said, it makes me sad. And they said, well, why? And he said, she didn't live to see it. And it's one of those heartbreaking losses in the history of, you know, not just the Hollywood world, but just the world in general. A young up and coming star at the age of 27 who, you know, had the world in front of her and unfortunately was taken from us. So when you watch this, it's in the back of your mind, sort of, that, you know, this was it. It's almost like when you watch The Dark Knight, you watch that movie and you watch Heath Ledger and you know that this was the end for Heath Ledger. That was the last. Well, granted, I know there was one more movie after that he died during, but it has that same impact. You watch it and you're like, oh my God, what would have came next? And you're almost upset about it, but it adds something more to the performance because you know that she left it all on the screen. And that's why I really love Soledad Miranda in this. Oh, that sucks. Yeah, no, it does suck, man. It was a really, really big shame. Rest in peace. Yeah, Soledad Miranda, rest in peace. She was an angel if there ever was one on this earth. Yeah, no, they had a huge contract. They ended up having to give the contract to another actress because they had already made up the contract. They were like, we have to give this to somebody. And so they gave it to, I forget who else they gave it to, but it's just one of those things that's really a shame. Ciao, Grande. I'm at work. I can't miss your lives. Dude, Mateo, rock on, good brother. I'm talking about She Killed in Ecstasy from Mr. Jess Franco. Good Valentine's Day horror, man. Hope all is well with you tonight. But yeah, no, this thing, I really highly recommend it if you have not seen it. Severin Films has an excellent 2-disc special edition Blu-ray of this. I guess I could show you guys the inside because this is a tremendous little movie. She Killed in Ecstasy, and it comes with the soundtrack from the 3 films that Soledad and Jess Franco did together. This is just a really wonderful film. It has everything that you'd want in it. It has, you know, revenge, themes of horror, seduction, love, ecstasy, necrophilia, nudity, all of this crazy shit packed into one kick-ass 80-minute film that Jess Franco gave us. And one of my favorites, definitely one of my favorites, She Killed in Ecstasy. Probably an 8 out of 10 for me. I really enjoy this film. Highly recommend if you have not seen it, give it a chance because it is free on YouTube. I think both of these movies, actually, we're going to talk about here tonight, are free to watch on YouTube. And they're both wonderful, in my humble opinion. So highly recommend She Killed in Ecstasy. But up next, oh boy, up next, probably the most fun movie of the two. This is from one of my all-time favorite, most underrated filmmakers of all time, Mr. Don Jones. He actually was co-director on this. This is one of the only things he ever co-directed. And I get into the story as to why that was the case. But it is his film from the year 1975. This is The Love Butcher. Yes, The Love Butcher from the year 1975. Oh, this is a really wacky exploitation film. And to me, exploitation done at its absolute best. So the initial director and writer for this was Mike Angel, and Mike Angel unfortunately never went on to write or direct anything else again. This was his one shot in the sun, and he basically came up with this story about this man who sort of suffers from schizophrenia and a multiple personalities disorder. So basically this tells the story of Caleb. And by day, Caleb is this gardener who is gimpy. He has this gimp hand. He has these giant, glasses, and he's bald and he's old and he wears suspenders. Very nerdy, very ugly old man. And he works for all of these women. He works in their gardens, taking care of their garden and stuff like that. And he is just horribly treated by all of his customers. And by night, he can transform himself into his alter ego brother, Lester, who Lester has hair. And Lester is charming and suave. And by his words, he is alive. And by night, he becomes the love butcher. And he goes out to these women's houses that he has been gardening for in the mornings and pretty much seducing and killing them. And that's really the entire movie of The Love Butcher. It's a lot of back and forth. Now, right off the bat, I think that's a tremendous idea for a horror film. Multiple personalities. Okay, it's been done before. What else can you do with it? How about by day, you are the naughty, by night, you're the hottie, and holy shit, all of a sudden we can do all these fun, creative things. And Mike Angel came up with the idea for that. So I wanted to put Mike Angel over. Of course, we'll get into what happened as to why Don Jones took over. But let's see. Oh, I love that cover. It looks dope. Yes, no, these movies are both free on YouTube. So if you don't want to buy the Blu-rays, although I recommend you do, you can watch both of these movies for free on YouTube. Highly recommend them. Awesome. I'll try to watch both. Yeah, no, if you love Valentine horror and love themes in horror movies, I don't think you can get any better than these two right here. The guy on the cover looks like Richard O'Brien, Rocky Horror Shock Treatment. Yes, totally. Also sort of like Shockwaves, right? You ever see Shockwaves, the zombie mummy film, if you will? That's a good one. Do people who get murdered in this film deserve it at least? Not as much as in the Soledad Miranda, Jess Franco film that we just discussed. But I guess it goes on how you perceive. So, for example, our lead Caleb, he is gardening for this woman in the morning, and he's a good guy. He's a humble guy. He's sympathetic. It's almost like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde done in the 70s, right? Like Dr. Jekyll, we can all sympathize for, and Caleb, we do sympathize for. He knocks on this woman's window, and she's just being mean unnecessarily, and he says. And it's funny, he has this great like Southern accent. And he says the word ma'am over and over. Yes, ma'am. Fine morning, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. What do you want, Caleb? Yes, ma'am. I'm thirsty. I could use a glass of water, ma'am. And just the hard time she gives him over asking for a glass of water. You feel bad. And you do feel a little bit of anger towards the woman. Like, the guy's asking for a glass of water. Like, you can't just say, okay, here you go. Like thank you for all the hard work you're doing. No, like it's a very backhanded thing she does. And it's wrong. And you do feel terrible for Caleb. And that's, I think, another part of the horror of this movie is the themes of love and ugliness. If you're pretty, pretty people will treat you good. And if you're ugly, pretty people will treat you ugly. And it's kind of a crazy thing to think about, but that's sort of the themes of horror that this movie tackles. It's, why don't we just treat everybody the same, whether we think they're beautiful, ugly, hideous, a beast, whatever it may be. You should treat everybody with the, how you want to be treated. And that doesn't happen for the Caleb character. And as this thing goes on, you see how each customer treats him worse and worse and worse. And your heart goes out to him. It does. But, by nighttime, he convinces himself that he is this suave brother, and he envies his own brother. It's incredible when you think about it. It's a film with multiple personalities, and the nerdy one is sort of envious and jealous of the suave one. He's jealous of his own self. It's fucking really wacky horror, but it's done really well here. There's some tremendous scenes of the lead who it's actually on here. It says Eric Stern. It's actually James Lemp. That's the actor's name. I don't know why he went under a different name, because this was his best performance of his career, as far as I'm concerned. Um, there's tremendous scenes of him talking to his brother, and basically all the brother is, it's a chair with a wig on it, and they play around with the lights. And this is all Don Jones. He plays around with the lighting, and you see a lot of vibrant reds and magentas. And that's the thing I did forget to mention in this film. They play a lot with colors in this: reds, greens, blues. Every single color of the rainbow is in this film. And same here. It's really beautiful to look at. This film was done in Technicolor, so it just pops off the screen, especially if you're watching a good Blu-ray. He's talking to his alter ego in the chair, almost in similar vein. What it reminded me of was Willem Dafoe in Spider-Man, in the first Spider-Man film. And tell me how first we attack his heart. Very similar, but this is brother versus brother, alter ego versus alter ego, a man versus a wig in a chair. But it's so well done because the actor just elevates it. This could have been really cheesy. This could have been really roll my eyes, but it's not. It's really fucking well acted. And it's like, it's almost unbelievable how good of a job James Lemp does in the lead. Free on YouTube. Jeff, definitely going to have to check it out. Yeah, no, I highly recommend The Love Butcher, man. Everybody should see this movie. Damn, this sounds good. Yeah, no, it is a really underrated flick. So he doesn't know what he does at night. So they don't go into that as much. As like, he doesn't, very rarely is he like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that. They really do the fact that it's like a transformation. So they'll be talking and, you're nothing, Caleb. I am less and I am alive. And he'll be looking in the mirror. At 1 second, he's Caleb. And then the next second, he's Lester. And then he'll go out as Lester and commit a crime and murder somebody that wronged his brother. But I don't think Caleb ever realizes it. It's one of those things. I think he's just completely fucking crazy. And I don't think he's aware. I really don't. I really don't think he's aware. I think at least that's what I got from it. Love Green Goblin. So do I, man. Willem Dafoe is great. That was a good invitation. Thank you. Yeah, no, I don't do a bad Goblin. MJ and I, we're going to have a hell of a time. I remember as a kid when I saw the first Spider-Man in the theaters, I marked out for that. I still that's probably my favorite line in any Spider-Man movie. I just love it. And I know that those movies are quotable, but man, I love the MJ and I gonna have a hell of a time. Like, I remember just marking out in the theater. I still, this day, if I watch that scene, I flail my arms up. I'm like, yes, like this is why I fucking love Spider-Man and Willem Dafoe in Spider-Man. He's just tremendous. But back to the Love Butcher. So once he transforms into Lester, he has a lot of fun gimmicks as Lester. You would think, oh, he just probably shows up as this suave guy, the same suave guy. No, he shows up to one woman's house as like a cowboy because he knows that she likes cowboy guys. So he shows up in a hat and the boots and the whole fucking gimmick. And, he's trying to seduce her with knowing what she likes and stuff like that. And she sleeps with him. And then, he stabs the shit out of her. Crazy. There's one woman where she was being nasty to Caleb and he goes in and he tries to seduce her and she rejects him and he cannot believe the rejection. He can't stand the rejection. So through the horror of rejection, he kills her even more brutally. She's swimming in the pool and he takes this hose and turns the hose on, jumps in the pool, starts to drown her, and then shoves the hose that's on in her mouth. So not only is she drowning underwater, she's also, having all this water go down her body. Really brutal death scene. Probably the best death scene in this film. It's scary. And as he's disposing of the body, he's sort of replaying what happened in his head because he can't handle or accept the fact that he was rejected. And he replays it in his mind, and it's almost like this woman is falling for the seduction. It's the sick horrors of the, denial of rejection. That's a theme here in this movie, and it's super well done. Seeing that film in the theater blew my mind. Yeah, no, I was 5 years old. 5 years old when the first Spider-Man came out, and it to this day is one of my favorite movie theater experiences ever. I remember we went really late in the release. It was my grandmother and I. And then another elderly couple. That was all that was in the theater. It was just 4 people. And I remember just having the best time of my life. And I remember when it ended, I asked the other couple who I didn't even know. I was like, did you guys like it? Like, that's how excited I was. I'll never forget that. It was one of my favorite memories back in the Seaford days. I missed that theater, man. It closed since COVID. But yeah, no, that was a magical moment of my childhood for sure. But back to the Love Butcher, man. This thing is really well done horror exploitation, drive-in, cinema, in my opinion. Because it's everything that you should be doing with an exploitation film, right? Is there sleaze? Yes. Is there horror? Yes. Is there creative death scenes? Yes. Great use of color? Yes. Great psychology? Yes. There's a lot of things that make this film worked as well as it does. And, there was a whole debacle, though, with this film that people don't really realize. If you listen to the commentary on this, which is a tremendous commentary track with, I want to get the guy's name right, R.A., the Rugged Man. He's a rapper. That guy knows so much about horror, and it was so interesting to listen to him and Don Jones and the moderator discuss this film. If you don't know, the R.A., the Rugged Man, he actually wrote a little film called Bad Biology that Frank Henenlotter produced and directed. It's a really good horror movie, Bad Biology. It's about this woman who has a mutant vajayjay, and she meets a guy who has a mutant not vajayjay, a mutant PP, and they kind of get together and live happily ever after. It's a fucked up movie, Bad Biology, but it's a very good horror film, very well done. And I like to think that he took some inspiration from a movie like this, using the creativity themes of exploitation and love in the genre. That's all prevalent here. But what happened was Mike Angel initially was writer, producer, director. He was really, the main brains behind this. He wanted to be the main producer. However, he couldn't finance the whole thing. So he went to two other guys who actually mortgaged their houses just to produce this film. So they put up $40,000 to make this thing. They finished filming after, I think it was 12 days, and they did a rough cut screening for the producers. And Don Jones was there. He was initially acting as the cinematographer on this film. And the film ended, and silence, dead silence. And the producers didn't say a word. And Mike Angel looked, and I think Mike Angel knew that, the ship had sailed and that they were not happy with the finished product film. And he looked around the room and he said, well, that's my film. Call me and let me know, and walked out the room. And the producers were nervous. They were like, we just mortgaged our houses to make this film, and you gave us what you gave us. I mean, this isn't what we had hoped for. And they turned to Don Jones. And Don Jones had come off making a little film called Schoolgirls in Chains, which I talked about on the Exploitation Explosion episode, which is one of my all-time favorite exploitation films in the 1970s. Just one of those movies that gets lost in the shuffle because there was so much good stuff at the time, whether it be the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Black Christmas. There's so many good movies exploitation-wise that came out at that time. And I think Schoolgirls in Chains was lost in the shuffle. But they said, hey, you have experience directing. Can we go back and we do reshoots and, see if we can make this thing better? And so about 25 to 30% of the film is still Mike Angel's stuff. But the other 70% is Don Jones's stuff. And it's just tremendous. Don Jones did a great job going back and refilming these scenes and getting a different sort of performance out of James Lemp and adding more color to the thing, adding more personality, more psychology to this. And it's really well done. I think Don Jones did a great job when he took over the helm of directing. And it's a shame because Mike Angel doesn't really get that much credit for this, even though it was his story he came up with. James Lemp was his buddy. He specifically wrote this movie for him. And, a lot of the actors in this were friends with Mike Angel and were upset that he, his whole vision wasn't fully realized. I mean, it's a shame. It's definitely a shame, but I think Don Jones made a lot more out of this movie than probably what was originally there. I would go out on a limb to say that. I think Don Jones made this a lot better. And this was a job for Don Jones. I don't think this was a passion project for him, but it's a job. And Don Jones knew you got to do a good job at your job. From what I know, Spider-Man was the first film I ever saw. Really, that's a great first film. I still got to see Bad Biology and Frankenhooker, Love Basket Case, and Brain Damage. Dude, great films. Absolutely great films. I think those are two awesome picks. You definitely got to see Bad Biology and Frankenhooker's fantastic. But I think Don Jones does a really good job with this movie. And I think that this thing, it really has some standout scenes. There's a great scene towards the end where he's fighting with Lester and he's screaming at him and they're screaming back and forth. And you know what I'll do to you, Les? I'll stab the life out of you. Stab the life out of you. And Lester just starts laughing at him, taunting him. Come on, you're nothing. You're a gimp. And, you know, James Lemp is just furious. I mean, just the back and forth between him and himself. It's so intense. And he really does a good job at making both characters feel like completely different actors. Like, if you didn't know, you would assume, okay, they use a different actor for when he becomes like the good-looking, charming guy. No, it's the same guy. They just put a wig on him and have him act different. And like I said before, he sort of switches up the gimmicks. One night he's the air conditioner repairman. One time he's the plumber. One time he's this like suave record salesman trying to seduce all these women and eventually killing them all. A big, note of critique a lot of people have on The Love Butcher is people say it's a very misogynistic film. I hear that. I get where people are coming from that. And this doesn't have your typical, final girl, climactic ending. It doesn't really have that. But I don't think it is necessarily a misogynistic film. And hear me out on this. In a Rambo film, Rambo kills 400 men. I don't know if necessarily Rambo is against men. You know what I mean? I think The Love Butcher is just really more of a character study of somebody with schizophrenia and multiple personalities. And that just happens to all his victims are women that treat his nicer ego poorly. That's at least what I got from it. But they do kind of play a reverse card on that, because there is one woman played by Kay Lear, I think her name is. This one, Kay Near. Who unfortunately she didn't do much acting after this. She was beautiful, probably the best actress in the movie. And she is nice to him. She finally has a customer that's nice to him and offers him dinner and, gives him a glass of water and it says all these kind things to him. And, why don't you have a girlfriend? You're a good looking guy. You're a very nice guy. And she's just nice to him. She's not trying to flirt with him or anything because she's actually engaged, but she is showing that she has a heart. She's not a hopeless, mean, pretty woman like a lot of these women that he's been picking off before. And you see sort of likes it. And then Lester gets jealous of the ugly duckling, Caleb. And Lester comes out and kills her for that. And then once that happens, you're like, okay, all the morality you felt and sympathetic you felt, you don't feel it as much anymore. And I see that's a big disconnect with this film, but I think it's done on purpose. I really do. I think it's there to say, hey, now Caleb's been jealous of Lester this whole time. Now it's vice versa. Lester is jealous of Caleb, thinking, how dare you? And I know it's crazy, but it's a really well done psychology trope, I think, in this film. This thing has a very interesting ending. I don't want to get to the entire thing as sort of a reveal, if you will. But I think it's really well done. I really like The Love Butcher, Don Jones's film, Mike Angel's film. It's a really good time, and I think a perfect viewing for Valentine's Day. Both of these movies here tonight. I think these are excellent movies to watch on or around Valentine's Day. Probably especially She Killed in Ecstasy, because this one really pays more with the whole motif and psychology of, what would you do if you lost the one you loved? And I think it does it really well. And this film, it's more about, themes of jealousy and treating people poorly or, not treating them right and all these things. And there's a lot of themes in this as well. I think both of these movies definitely are good Valentine's Day watches. The Love Butcher, I would give like a 7.5 out of 10. I really enjoy this one too. Highly recommend the Blu-ray. I guess that's to show that neither personality can ever truly be happy. Exactly. Yeah. And there's a whole twist at the end. I don't know if I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it, but they get a little bit more into that, and you'll see what I mean if you see the film. But I won't lie, it doesn't have to be in there. No, but you get why that he's going through the things he's going through once they explain sort of what's going on and what happened. But I don't know. I definitely I think that's the whole beauty of it. It's if one's happy, the other's miserable, and then that's why they have to pretty much come to a head and destroy each other. Really cool stuff. I think to me, 70s exploitation grindhouse horror done right, in my humble opinion. A 7.5 out of 10. Not as good as The Forest or Schoolgirls in Chains from Mr. Don Jones, but definitely a good movie, and a movie that I think everybody should see at least once. Definitely a solid flick. Both of these, like I said, they're on YouTube to watch for free if you're interested. 7.5 and an 8 out of 10. That's what I gave these both. Yeah, I'll have to check it out for sure. Thank you, Trenchy. I appreciate that. I hope you do. Let me know what you think if you do. So that's all I really had planned for the show tonight. I know it's a little bit of a shorter episode. But if anybody wants to talk about anything for like 10, 15 minutes, I'll stay around and chat for a little bit. I definitely have to check these films out, then get back to you on my thoughts on them. Yeah, no, totally, man. I think She Killed in Ecstasy is definitely it's a sleazy flick, but it's definitely a really, really good one. I think Soledad Miranda's performance alone is just well worth the price of admission. She's tremendous in it. Like I said, that musical score when she's in the fetal position. I did it as the thumbnail for this video. Just the power she enthralls in that scene. It's like, oh my God, this is fucking tremendous acting. She just does such a fucking good job in that movie, man. I love it. And then The Love Butcher, it's James Lemp, man. It's all James Lemp. It's funny, when I initially picked these two, my whole theme was, okay, the themes of love. And the themes of love and horror. That's why I love the genre. And around Valentine's Day, why not talk about love and horror? I think the two go together better than people think. But then I thought about it. I'm like, well, both of these movies feature career performances from the leads, and one's a woman, one's a guy. And I just thought that was pretty cool. I don't know. It's like sort of a way for me and my brain to put them together. Awesome. Never heard anything about either movie, but I'll check them out on YouTube. See, that's the beauty of the show. I always like to, like I was saying at the beginning, introduce people to stuff they haven't seen and the movies that are talked about again and again and again. I mean, how many people this upcoming week are going to My Bloody Valentine review, My Bloody Valentine kill count, My Bloody Valentine this, My Bloody Valentine that. I like the movie, and I think it's a great slasher movie, but everybody's doing that. That's the thing with me too. Like with the, everybody did the trailer reaction to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, which I'm, funny enough, wearing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre shirt. I didn't like. No, I don't want to do trailer reactions or reviews. And I remember when Halloween Kills came out, everyone's like, "Oh, you're gonna rant on it? You're gonna rant on it?" I was like, honestly, man, I don't even want to. I didn't want to. And then of course I did the retrospective and ranted on it there. But I don't know. I think sometimes the community, it's very, for lack of a better word, like copycat or monkey see, monkey do kind of thing. And I don't want to do any of that. I just want to like show people movies that I think deserve to be talked about a little bit more. And these are two movies that I do think they should be talked about a little bit more. I think both have tremendous acting, direction, cinematography, use of color, psychology, themes of horror. I don't know. I really like both of these movies, and it was fun to do show prep this week, watching these both back to back. Actually, watch them. So I don't know. This kind of works as a double feature, I guess, in a weird way. I watched Love Butcher first, then She Killed in Ecstasy. Soulless Trenchcoat says, I like My Bloody Valentines, but I totally prefer the movie Valentine over because I think it's better with the holiday. Valentine, man, I have not seen that. And I'll date myself here, but granted, you're around my age, so it works. Back in the day, Channel 10 used to do like horror movie, I think Saturday nights at like 10 o'clock. And Valentine was one they showed as a kid. I saw it. I have not seen it, and I don't remember. I don't even remember who the killer was. So it's one I'm definitely overdue for a rewatch on. Seems like over the years it's gotten a lot of love. And I don't know. I haven't seen it. I know a lot of people that involved with it hated it, but I noticed it's got a big cult following, so I'll have to give it a watch. Have you ever seen The Loved Ones? Not Valentine's Day per se, but definitely has Valentine vibes. Yeah, no, and I will say this right here. Neither one of these take place like on Valentine's Day, but it's the vibes is more what I'm going for. So The Loved Ones is one I have not seen, but everybody and their mother has recommended. So it's definitely on the watch list. Definitely one I will give a look soon. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Don't do something for a trend. Do it because you enjoy doing it. Yes, and that's why I do Grande's Graveyard. That's a big reason why I do this. And like, I know there weren't going to be as many people in the house tonight or whatever. But that's the thing. Like, that's what I like to do different stuff. Like, I don't know. Like, there's enough people to talk about My Bloody Valentine, stuff like that. Like, I want to talk about She Killed in Ecstasy. I want to talk about the fucking Love Butcher, Like, I don't know. Anything to just be slightly different and offer a little bit different of a variety or opinion or whatever. But yeah, no, that was pretty much the method behind the madness. But yeah, no. Like again, if anybody wants to talk about anything else, we can. I'm just gonna end this share screen here that I had up. And it froze me. That's not good. Okay. The stop screen. Okay. Perfect. Yeah, and once again, I apologize for the whole slow start to the show. It happens. Just checked if anyone's interested in Valentine's on Shudder. I don't have Shudder, but I'll get there. I'll eventually give it a watch for sure. That's one that I'm definitely overdue for a while. Maybe Monday. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe just maybe Monday. Yeah, I get it. It's been a fun stream, freezing included. Yeah, no, for sure, man. I'm glad that it stopped now because maybe I'll have to do the show in here from now on. I don't really know. Moving forward, I may just have to because my Wi-Fi, it is very hit or miss. But all right. So everybody, I want to say thank you again. I'm sorry this wasn't a long episode, but I don't know. I hope people check these reviews out and watch these movies because I don't know. I really like them and I think they're really cool. So everybody, I wanted to say have a wonderful, happy, safe weekend. Stay safe, everybody. And we will catch you next week, next time, only on the Graveyard. Too Sweet Peace, and we'll catch you all next time.